I think everybody who is on live stream can hear me. I've just received a text to that effect. And I hope that everybody who is graveside can do so now without too much reverb. If you can raise your hands, that would be great. Thank you so much. Dear friends and family, we gather in shock and consternation today from across America and overseas under these unprecedented conditions. We are conflicted. We feel the urge to join Becky and the family, offering in-person words of comfort and solace, sharing anecdotes and personal reflections about Anthony, for in so doing, we too are comforted. We are thankful that Norma and children Steve, Nikki, and Danny, Mel, Melinda, and their children Shane and Andrea are with Becky and Karen, Tally and Scott, Anna and Ben, and that Steve and Derek, representing the Davis family, were able to travel to Denver at short notice, as well as other members. We reach out to Anthony's brother Ivor and Pauline and their daughter Zara in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, and we hope that you are able to remain electronically connected to us as we conduct this short service. I feel privileged to be a part of the service, even whilst located in Baltimore. At this moment, we keep in mind the words Baruch Dayan HaEmet, acknowledging that whilst at our spiritually most vulnerable, these are words of faith, and recognize that God has given, God has taken, and yet at that time, God is blessed. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. We begin our service with the chanting of Mizmor LeDavid, Psalm 23 in the Hebrew, followed by the English. If you are graveside or if you are listening on live stream or on the YouTube channel, please join me remotely, either in the Hebrew words or in the English words of comfort and inspiration. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai rogi lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni, halamei menochot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshomev yanacheni v'magle tzedek למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגץ על המוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, כי אתה עמדי. שיבתך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה, אך טוב בחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, God, are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Karachem aval banim, richam Adonai al yereav, ki hu yada yitzreini, zachur ki afara nachnu. Enosh kechatzir yamav, ketzitz hasale kineyatitz. Kiro achabarabo venenu lo yakirenu od mekomo nachesed Adonai me'olam ve'ad olam al yereav v'tzidakato livenei avanim. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are dust. The days of all mankind are like grass. We flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them, and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But God's compassion is everlasting. His kindness to all mankind, to all who revere him, endures age after age, unchanging. At this moment, I invite Tally, Scott, and Anna to come forward and share some personal reflections, followed by Mel, Becky's brother, and thereafter by Michael Schaffer, longtime family friend and business partner. Please step forward to the lectern.
Dad, Papa, and Aunt. When we sat down to write this, we had no idea where to begin. There's so much to say, and we aren't ready to say any of it. Finding the words to describe how we feel right now seems impossible. We never thought we would be up here having to say these words so soon. When you almost left us in 2013, all you cared about was the impact it had on Mom, Karen, and I. Not about the trauma that your body had been through, but the emotional trauma that we had experienced, defined selflessness. Dad, you always put your family first. It was family over everything, anything. You loved us so much. Me, Karen, Mom, Scott, Anna, Ben, and all of our dogs. You made Scott feel like a son. There's so many things we'll miss about you. Singing more than words at the top of our lungs after too many drinks late at night. Even though your voice was beautiful and mine was terrible, you always told me mine was great, and I believed it. Dancing to Zach Brown on the deck, our countless vacations, our late night sing-alongs with your end of the night Sambuca. When something did happen, you were the first person we would call. When we needed advice, you were the first person we would call. You always picked up on the first ring. For some reason, if there was a bad connection, you never thought it was on your side. Jokes aside, we could always count on you for anything, even if to talk on the phone about nothing. We shared an intense love for biltong. There was never a time I saw you that you didn't bring me biltong, and I would eat it all before anyone else could get to it. You'd give one stick for Karen to hide from me and the rest to me. Even when I was allegedly a vegetarian, I made an exception for Dad's biltong. Nothing compared, not even the biltong in Africa. When I came home last week to no biltong, I immediately felt your absence. Matt passed on the biltong tradition to Scott this weekend, so don't worry, I'm covered. You never judged. You never hesitated to let us know how proud you were of all of us. You never criticized. You made us feel like we could do anything. You always made us feel safe. Family was of utmost importance. You loved fiercely. You were the happiest when you were with the family. You and Mom adopted multiple extra kids throughout our lives. Zara, Danny, Derek, Gary, to name a few. Because they were family, you would do anything for them. We find comfort in laughing about your little isms, how organized you were, earning you the name Anal Ant. The little brush you gave Karen for her car so there would never be a speck of dust that only you and Karen would value. Your insanely organized garage where only you knew things were located. You were our walking, talking search engine, our personal Google. You literally knew everything. And when we told you you knew everything, you would always say you were full of useless knowledge, but no matter what, it was always helpful. You loved tennis shoes, luggage, and gadgets. The special loaf of bread I had to buy you every time you came to town, along with Mom's Lactaid. Your uber boring taste buds. The chocolate with the fruit and nuts where you would count the squares and you knew if we ate some. Your car that always looked brand new, so anal. The way you taught us manners by forcing us to hug and kiss everyone in the room and to set the table with the fork and knife in the right spot. We joked your only friend is Michael, AKA your girlfriend, but in truth, you had a wide network of friends and were immensely loved by so many. The outpouring of love for you has been nothing short of overwhelming. While you had few close relationships, the ones you had were lifelong, genuine, and deep. You had a love for current events and read multiple newspapers daily. When we didn't understand something going on in the world, we knew we could call you to dumb it down for us and give us an unbiased perspective. You knew and understood all sides of every issue, so we valued your opinions over anyone else's. You loved babies and kids, and you said if someone didn't like babies or dogs, they weren't worth knowing. You had funny nicknames for everyone: Moosh, Annabelle, Benji, Scooter, Boom Boom, Doctor, to name a few. Funny terms you made up during our childhood pervaded throughout our lives. Fly fly, nif nif, bridges and grapes, sausage dogs, bullet body, fish face. How many dry kisses and how many wet on a dog? You had an amazing sense of humor, which we are certain we inherited. And when I called you at work and asked you what you're doing, your answer was always, not much, picking my nose, pushing papers around my desk. How about you? You're deeply religious in a traditional sense, more than any of us. And while we didn't sit around talking about God, you taught us that religion was important because it brought family together and it forged an identity. You loved your time with the choir and practiced so much, even Mom knew the music. You beamed with pride over Anna's ability to read and sing Hebrew. And she was so excited to share her progress with you. We're so sad you won't be able to sing to worship with her at her bar mitzvah. When we were babies, you took pride in doing the heavy lifting, feeding, bathing, dressing, diaper changing, rocking to sleep, and you did the same with my babies. You loved them like your own. You loved being a grandpa more than anything. You wouldn't hesitate to get on the floor and play with them as toddlers. Ben would spaz in the middle of a nice dinner, which happened often. Thanks, Ben. You would immediately take him out of the restaurant to distract him. They loved your tickles and kisses and back rubs. You treated Mom's parents like they were yours. You loved to see Grandma Rose's face light up when you brought her Kit Kats. You did her accent so well. What did you say? When Grandpa Saul's cancer took over, you didn't hesitate to take care of him, and he called you an angel. We almost lost you once before, and by some miracle, you survived. When you were recovering from your heart attack, you told us you saw Grandpa Saul, and that he told you it wasn't your time, and that Mom, Karen, and I still needed you here, and we will be eternally grateful we were able to have 7.5 more years together. You were cool without trying. You were always so put together. Karen loved shopping for you, no surprise there. When people would meet you, they'd always tell us how interesting you were, and you were more than a father to us. You are our friend and a confidant, and you were the best listener. Someone described you as a man of integrity who stood firmly for his principles without showing anger, and we think that describes you to a T. You were a quiet person, but when you spoke with purpose and with wisdom. Your and Mom's love stories like no other. Everyone marveled at your relentless adoration for Mom, your moosh. We'd be watching a movie together and look over and see you holding hands on the couch. Just this past June on our trip to Crested Butte, when you didn't think anyone was watching, we saw you hugging and kissing in the kitchen like newlyweds. You worship Mom. You never stopped telling her how beautiful she was. And while the world was complaining about being quarantined through a pandemic, you were your happiest being stuck at home with Mom feeding you all your favorite food. It was your dream come true. Mom felt that these last 6 months of forced time together were some of your best in all of your almost 50 years together. Dad, none of us were ready to let you go. Your absence feels colossal. Our hearts are forever shattered. We find solace in the hope that you're somewhere eating dry rye bread, Bill talking peppermint crisp with our grandparents and snuggling Poochie, PJ, Spanky, Zaki, Ziggy, and Rosie. We are so blessed to have you as a father. You will be forever missed. Love and miss you, Dad.
I'm Tali's husband, Scott, and I have the privilege of being Becky and Anthony's son-in-law. I can honestly say there's never been a day that Becky and Anthony have not treated me as one of their own. I was welcomed into this family with open arms. As everyone knows, Ant has been nothing short of an incredible father, husband, grandfather, and best friend. I married his younger daughter, Tali, on September 1st, 2002. We celebrated our 18-year anniversary yesterday, and I know how proud he would have been. I actually met Anthony in 1998 when Tali and I had first begun dating. I'm sure many of you may recall this story from our wedding, but I felt it was appropriate to share it again with you today. Tali had just returned from studying abroad in Israel. She invited me to come to Denver for a family wedding in the mountains. I was getting ready to start medical school and was nervous to miss the first week of class, but I decided to join Tali and the rest of the family on the road trip for the wedding. Ant and I quickly bonded as we were forced to perform our manly grooming rituals in our boxers while the women would get ready in the room next door. Poor guy. Here he hardly knew me, and there we are in our boxers. We had a wonderful time at the wedding. At the conclusion of the weekend, Tali was preparing to take me back to the airport. Anthony had decided to leave work early and come home to say goodbye to me. Our cars passed in the street, and Tali casually suggested that I get out and give him a big hug. Without any further thought or delay, I jumped out of the car and ran over to Anthony and gave him a giant bear hug. Let's just say he wasn't that interested. Come to find out later, he had a certain phobia for hugging men. Fast forward several more years to our wedding. Anthony was giving his speech. He told this very same story. And at the end, he asked me to come to the microphone so that he could hug me in front of all his friends and family. It was amazing. From there on out, we've been huggers. I looked forward to those big hugs when I greeted him on our frequent visits to see each other. I looked forward to those hugs when we left each time. And I'm going to miss those hugs. Another favorite story from my early days, Tali and I sat down in Becky and Anthony's office one day. This was pre-Anna and Ben. These were back in the days of AOL and dial-up service. We got onto your account and visited some, let's say, rather inappropriate chat rooms. We laughed hysterically. Later, Anthony received word from AOL that his account was being terminated due to his quote, unquote, inappropriate and unusual behaviors. Tali and I laughed pretty hard, and of course, Anthony didn't care either. In fact, he even laughed with us. Ant was an exceptional person. He had so many wonderful and unique qualities. He was the smartest, kindest, most compassionate, and loving husband, father, and friend to all. His loyalty was fierce. His love for animals went beyond description. I mean, seriously, their dogs eat at the dinner table. He's worldly, and I've always looked forward to our many trips and our late night talks. Our journey to Africa and seeing Zimbabwe with you was one of my favorites. With his funny accent over a Mexican coffee, he would educate me about his youth, growing up in Zimbabwe, or the time he spent in Israel, or stories about fighting in the Yom Kippur War. His endless devotion to Becky is admirable. He adored her, and I've watched him time and time again shower her with his endless love. Their story is a true magical love story which many admire. 48 years strong. Quite impressive, guys. His quest to be the best possible husband and his endless devotion will always be a role model for me in my own marriage. Family has always been the most important thing to Ann. Surrounding himself with his grandchildren meant the world to him. I admired the many relationships he continued with his own siblings and his many cousins, nieces, and nephews all over the world. He continues to always stress the importance of family, and he loved like no other. His knowledge of the world and of just all things continuously amazed me. I felt like there's nothing he didn't know. I knew I could pick up the phone at any moment and ask him any random question. I was certain to get back a well thought out answer. I also knew I could lean on him for any and all types of advice, whatever the issue. He'd give me the most precise and fair way to handle the situation, and he was always available for us. He was also quite the handyman, as some of you may know. I'd save my honey-do list for his regular visits to Kansas City. We'd knock out the odd jobs together. We'd have fun doing them. Typically, though, we end up screwing them up and have frequent trips back to the hardware store, afterwards laughing and sharing famous Kansas City barbecue beef sandwiches together. His faith was inspirational to many. He studied the Torah and spent years singing in the choir at his synagogue. Judaism was a strong part of his life and continued to guide him. He stressed the importance of it to Tali and I and the kids. He recently had been helping my daughter Anna to prepare for her upcoming bat mitzvah. The smile on his face and hers while she practiced her Torah portion was something special. He was so proud of her. I'll never forget watching them study together at the kitchen table. He even volunteered to study and deliver the first portion of her Torah reading. I know you're going to be with us that day and every day forward, beaming ear to ear with your beautiful smile. Ant also had his funny quirks that we all loved. Anal Ant. He had as many nicknames for me, Scooter or Boom Boom Ravis or just Doc. But nothing gave me more joy than to turn one of his statues in his home to face a different direction or to make a picture just slightly uneven. It would take you seconds to realize and change it right back, and we'd have a nice laugh together. He loves his tennis shoes and always had a new headphone contraption or gadget for me to try out. His biltong, oh man, insane. He's always prepared with a fresh batch when we would arrive for a visit. I'm learning to carry on this tradition, I can promise you that. His love for his grandchildren was like no other. He truly got it. He was a hands-on guy. He knew he had limited time to spend with these kids while they're young, and these kids adored him. He was on his hands and knees playing with each of them since day one, giving bath, changing diapers. No job turned down. He took kids on walks when we needed a distraction and was there for each of their milestones. Both Anna and Ben adore you. They're going to miss you, Ann. You left your mark on them, and I can only hope my son Ben becomes the kind of man that you were. Anthony, they broke the mold with you. You're one of a kind, and it shows with the many beautiful things your friends and family have shared and wrote to us over the last few days. You are the true definition of the word Mitch. I'll never forget what an amazing role model you've been to all of us, and can only hope and pray that I can live up to the caliber of husband, father, and friend you were to us. I'll dearly miss our late night chats, and I truly do cherish every moment you and I were able to spend together. You're going to be missed, man. What I wouldn't do to give you one last big hug. I love you. Rest in peace, Pop Ant.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad that all of us could be here today for Anthony. Anthony, or Papa Ant, is a very special person. He was kind, cared for others, always helped anyone when they needed it, and was overall an amazing guy. He's the best father and grandfather that anybody could have ever asked for. One of my favorite memories or things that I would do with Papa is that I would constantly make fun of him for his above average size nose. Every time I would see him or even FaceTime him, I would always make a joke about his nose and crack him and myself up. Another one of our things that we did was whenever I wanted him to tickle me or do something else like that, I would always tell him to be annoying Papa. And no matter what he was doing, he would go drop it to be with me. But one of my absolute favorite things that he has been doing with me since day one was that every single time we would see each other, he would always sneak me some type of gummy treat. Whether it was the bears, the sour snakes, the worms, the cherries, or even the sour spaghetti, I was always so excited to see what he had brought me. Papa and I had the best relationship, and I only hope that someday I will have the same with my future children and grandchildren. Papa Ann, I love you so much. Papa would always help me, even when I thought I didn't need it. I have been practicing for my bat mitzvah, which is in February, and any chance he got, he would ask to FaceTime me to help me or sit down at the table with me. Even if it was just me singing 2 lines of Torah, he would always want to listen. He was so involved that he was actually going to chant a paragraph of Torah at my bat mitzvah. Oh my goodness, he was so excited. He was so happy to be a part of this, and even though he will no longer be with us there, I know that he will be watching from above with that same contagious smile on his face. Papa, I love making fun of your big nose, your hairy arms, your strange accent, the way you prepared 5-star meals every single night for Roxy, the way you had to swim from vine to vine to get to school in Africa, the way you got motion sick on an elephant, or the way you got battery anxiety when your phone or iPad was at 85%. I love the way that you loved my somewhat terrible drawings that I would make for you. And I loved how every single one of them ended up on the refrigerator door. I loved how you would always make fun of me for my disgusting iPad case. No matter what I did, you would always be proud of me. I will always look up to you. I couldn't have asked for a better grandfather. You are my role model and always will be. Even though you are no longer alive, I know that you will always be watching over us and that you will always be with me. You have made such an impact on Ben and I. We were so lucky to have the time that we did with you. Every memory with you was a good one. From the trip to Africa to the gummy bears in the nightstand drawer, Ben and I have enjoyed every moment of it. I hope that I could be as good of a person as you one day. Not to mention the 2 amazing women you and Bubby have raised, Tali and Karen. You are such an amazing father, and without you and Bubby, my mom would not be the incredible mother that she is today. I love you so much, Papa. You will forever be loved and missed. I'm so sorry that we didn't get more time together, but nothing will ever replace the 13 amazing years that I got to spend with you. Nothing will ever replace the relationship that we have. I love you, Papa Ann.
As it is for me, this is an extremely difficult time. For all of us. I will do my best to get through this. I hope I can make it, as I really do want to express my deep love and respect to a unique person that we have lost. The loss that's going to leave a huge void in all our lives, and a void that might never be filled. Anthony and I go back to our lives in South Africa. 58 years ago, Anthony came from Zimbabwe to the university in Denver, the city that I grew up in. At university, he and my sister became friends, and Anthony ended up coming to our house for Shabbat dinners, as well as if he was sick, he would come and see my dad. At that time, I was 8 years old, and with Anthony being a university student, I am sure he just looked at me as a little fisher. I, on the other hand, never forgot Anthony. I am sure it was his striking looks. 40 years ago, independently, we both ended up in Denver, which was the beginning of an amazing friendship. In chapter in both our lives, 16 years later, when we started working together, it was the culmination of true friendship. From the beginning to the end, we never had one fight, and neither of us ever had the need to raise our voices. With few exceptions, Monday through Friday, we would sit at Anthony's desk and have lunch together. We would speak about everything from sports to politics and about what was going on for each of us and our families. We became true loyal friends and each other's confidant. We have heard today what a mensch Anthony is. He was way more than that. He was a mensch with no bad bone in his body. His kindness is beyond any kindness that I have ever witnessed. His willingness to do for others was always beyond the expectation. His desire to do the right thing was always achieved. He would always do and treat others as he would hope to be treated. Doing the right thing was always in the forefront of his mind. His level of honesty and integrity was never a question, which created a level of trust which is very rare. I can tell you all this as I saw it firsthand, day in and day out. For all this, Anthony expected nothing in return. It was simply an expression of who he is. With all these and more, he has touched so many lives. I, as all of you, will greatly miss Anthony. I will no longer have him by my side Monday through Friday. No longer in the mornings will he walk over to my office and say good morning, or give me a thumbs up, when he was leaving. One thing that will always be with me is his spirit. My love and respect for him, and knowing how fortunate I have been to be able to call Anthony the friend that he truly was, and that will never go away. Anthony, we all love you and say thank you for being in our lives and for the huge impact that you have had on all of us. Anthony, I am honored that your family, especially Becky, refers to me as your girlfriend. We will miss you and will always love you.
Hi, I'm Mel Buchwald. I'm Rebecca's brother, Uncle Saul's, or Grandpa Saul's son, and we've been, Anthony and I, of equal rank. We were brother-in-laws. But he was senior, actually, because he beat me to marriage, children, mortgage, and almost everything. And it's a sad thing to be here in such a hurry to see him. I did get to the Southwest before he did. We live in New Mexico and we drove up. I can reflect on time that I spent with Anthony. One of the longest times I spent with Anthony, I remember quite happily, we walked a large fraction of the length of Manhattan. I was showing it to Anthony and he enjoyed it a lot. And we used to play tennis together, but he never really mentioned the quality of my tennis. And I just felt that it was unfair that he was playing with strategy. I would just hit the ball if I could. Anyway, we have a mutual friend in Mexico City, or we had a mutual friend in Mexico City, Ellie Andaman, And Ellie served in essentially in the artillery with Anthony in the Israeli army. And Ellie moved back to Mexico. And one day, Melinda and I flew to meet him. And it was quite a nice experience, and it cemented all our relationships, and it still goes on. I'm writing to Ellie, and Ellie has just sent me something to read at this funeral. And I think it serves all our purposes, and I'll read it. If I find some shadow. Dear Anthony, I write this letter to tell you the many things that I never told you in person. Remember the day we first met in the recruitment center in Jaffa. It was on the first days of July 1974. Among all the new soldiers to enroll in the IDF, I noticed a humble man sitting quietly and waiting. I approached you and asked your name and where you lived. At that moment, I noticed your British accent. You told me that you were born in Rhodesia and made Aliyah in 1971, that you were married with an American girl from New Jersey, and that you had a little girl who was 6 months old, Karen. For the first moment we met, we created a good relationship and spent 6 months together, always in the same tent, from the basic training until the end of the howitzer driving lessons. After the Army, I recall visiting you in Kfar Saba and the Safari restaurant. I was always impressed by your kindness, your open mind, and your loyalty. When I came back to Mexico, I decided to visit you in Denver. I stayed in your house for several days, and you and Becky took me to many places around Denver. I can't forget the many occasions we met while you visited Mexico. First, when Liora was born, you and Becky came to visit us. Then in Mazatlan, and later on, many times in Puerto Vallarta. The kindness with which you and Becky treated Denise and my children was spectacular. We always felt part of your family. I can't forget the Passover Seder in your house in 1985 with all your family. After Denise passed away, you called me every week to give me support. Denise was his wife. Asking me how I was doing. The last time we spoke by phone, I told you that I missed you and that after this difficult time we were living because of the pandemic, I wanted to visit you. But life is unpredictable, and simply you went ahead. You were my best friend, and you'll always be in my mind. Thank you for all you gave me. Shalom Haver. Very consistent with everything else we heard. I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
Upon much reflection over these past 2 days, it struck
So at
me.
this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask that Becky, Karen, Holly, and Norma please rise. And as Jim assists you with putting on the Kriya ribbon, which will be have a tear in it to symbolize the tear in the fabric of our lives during a loss, I ask that you repeat after me word by word in the Hebrew. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King, ruler, and master of the universe, the ultimate, true, and final judge. At this time, we're going to prepare the cemetery crew to lower the casket. Hang on one second. Yeah. You can be seated. I think, you know, we're missing one thing. We get to hear from Ken or Joel for a eulogy. So let's We'll do that.
Upon much reflection over these past 2 days, it struck me how Antony's Judaism was strongly influenced by his love for and experiences in Israel. Nurtured in Bulawayo, Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, from a young age, his understanding of Israel and its people informed, shaped, and rooted his Jewish identity throughout his life. Antony always remained up to date on the intricacies, issues, and challenges facing Israel, as well as maintaining a keen interest in international affairs. It was Beshirt, a heavenly decree, that he would meet Becky, the love of his life, in Israel. Their partnership, a true love story. Antony's Hebrew skills supported and enhanced his synagogue experience and participation in services. Yet much of his spiritual and intellectual needs was fulfilled as a committed member of the BMH BJ male choir. In an unassuming and humble manner, he anchored the melody section, devoting countless hours to perfecting a wide and ever-expanding repertoire, all of it by heart. A personal honor and highlight for me was singing together with Antony the moving Areshet Sefatenu duet on Rosh Hashanah. I will again reference Areshet Sefatenu before we recite Kaddish. His innate musicality and pure vocal timbre touched the hearts of our entire congregation and many others. Always keen to challenge himself, Antony mastered many haftarot, and in particular, annually chanted in its entirety, word and trop perfectly, the longest of all haftarot on Shabbat Shira. Anna and Ben, there is no finer example for you to emulate than that of your grandfather. I, who am perhaps sometimes a little late for appointments, was always amazed by Antony's punctuality. This was not a quirk, rather a sign of his respect and consideration for all with whom he interacted. Speaking again from personal experience, Antony has always been available to assist me, offer sincere advice, free of any agenda of motive other than true and caring friendship. Antony was extremely principled and true to his conscience, holding himself to the highest moral and ethical standards. His many friendships were strong, genuine, and lifelong, and as such, he was loved and respected by us all. Distance was never a barrier in maintaining contact. In Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers, we read, there are 3 crowns, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. But the crown of a good name surpasses them all. Antony wears the crown of a good name. You, Antony, are indeed a prince amongst men. Tehei nishmato tzura b'tzor hachayim. May your soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting memory. We now proceed to the lowering of the caskets, during which we're asking those who are present, of course, to come forward and in a final gesture of chesed ve'emet, genuine caring, to place some earth upon the casket. Atzor tamim pa'olot b'chol drachav mishpat. Atzur tamim b'chol pa'al. Mago matif'al. Ashalit b'mata u'b'ma'al. Me'mitu l'chayem morid she'ol vaya'al. Atzur tamim b'chol ma'aseh. Mi omar lo ma ta'aseh. Ha'omer ve'oseh. חסד חינם לנו תעשה ובזכות הנעקד כסה הקשיבה בעשה. צדיק וחסד תמים, ערך אפיים ומלא רחמים. חמול נא וחוס נא על אבות ובנים גדול סליחות והרחמים. צדיק אתה אדוני להמית ולהחיות, אשר בידך פקדון כל רוחות, חלילה לך זיכרוננו למחות, יהיו נא עיניך ברחמים עלינו בכוחות, כי לך אדון הרחמים והסליחות. Rock God is perfect in every deed. Who asks of him, what are you doing? For his word is fulfillment. God is just in all his ways. The rock is perfect, patient, and compassionate. You are just God in bringing about the end of life and restoring life. In your hand are all spirits. Dayan emet shofet tzedek ve'emet. Baruch dayan ha'emet. Shekol mishpatav tzedek ve'emet. Nefesh kol chai biyadecha tzedek mal'a yaminecha. Rachem al pleitat tzon yadecha. Vatomar lamalach heref yadecha. Gedol ha'etza b'rab ha'aliliya. Asher enecha pekuchot al kol darchei b'nei adam. La'tetz le'ish kedracha v'chivri ba'alalav. Lahagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlata bo. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach. Yishem Adonai mevorach. V'hu rachum yechaper avon v'lo yashit. Irama yashiva po. V'lo yahir. Kol hamato. Please come forward.
Did you see Danny's book? Yeah, did. He was wanting to see me. And so sweet. I mean, they both gave me big hug, and I said, "You remember me?" You know. You did a good job, Danny. I think you're working, singing me down the aisle. Yeah. God, it seemed I know.
Probably may have made plans.
Norma, this is one of Lena's. This is.
I'm Karen.
This is Derek. I'm Judy. Tell your dad hi. Email me. If you remember,
I'll remember.
he was my boyfriend. We were, I think, what were we, 16, 17? Yeah.
I'm sure he would love to hear from you.
In Port Elizabeth.
Could we ask that everybody return to these seats as we wish to give the family the opportunity for saying Kaddish together and for hearing and listening to Areshet Sefakenu and the final memorial prayer.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us this whole time. No, I know, but I'm sorry you had to experience the trauma. Well, maybe I'll come back. I mean, I will.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Could we ask everyone please to return to their seats to enable the family to recite Kaddish? Thank you. For those who wish to continue adding earth to the graveside, please do so. If everyone could now gather around the family and face the screen. The words of Areshet Sefakenu, which Anthony and I would sing over the Rosh Hashanah Musaf festival, are as follows. May the words of our lips be pleasing to you, exalted God, who listens, discerns, considers, and attends to the sound of our shofar blast. Lovingly accept our prayerful offering that proclaims your sovereignty. Areshet Sefakenu. As I sing this, I see Anthony standing 6 foot in front of me, and I hear his voice, but I shall sing his part. Areshet, Areshet Sefatenu, Areshet Sefatenu, Yerab lefanecha kel ram venisa. Mevino mazina mabito makiv. Mevino mazina mabito makiv. Mevino mazina mabito makiv. Lekol, 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 tekiyatenu. Otekabil berachamim, berachamim uveratzon. Otekabil berachamim, berachamim uveratzon. Seder, 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 seder. Malchiyotenu. We join now in the words of Kaddish. We ask the family to please rise, and we invite Michael, Shefa, and anybody else who wishes to support the family at this time in the reciting of these hallowed and ancient words as we gather in strength. Yitkadal v'yitkadash
Amen.
ve'alma yivarach kirutei yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael v'agalah u'v'yom harich v'imeru. Amen.
Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Vitadar, Vitamam, Vitaseh. Vitadar, Vitalel, Vitalal, Shmei, Shabri, Le'elam, Miko, Birkata, Vishirata, Tushkata, Veneflata, Daram, Rimal, Amen. Yehei Shamar, Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, V'yakol Yisrael, V'yiru, Amen. Aseh Shalom, V'yirmav, Aseh Shalom, Aleinu, V'yakol Yisrael, V'yiru, Amen.
Please remain standing for the concluding memorial prayer.
Can't hear him.
Elam alerachamim, shochen b'meramim, hametzim nuchanachana, tachad, kanefei hashechina. B'malad kedoshim u'taharim kezahar harakia meirim u'mazehirim et neshamad Avraham ben Yaakov Miriam Shalach Le'olamo Dehei menuchato lachina ba'al harachamim yastirehu beseter kenafecha le'olamim ויצרר בצר לחיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום, בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Exalted and compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Anthony Rubenstein, Abraham ben Yaakov and Miriam, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful God, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May he rest in peace, and let us all respond. Amen. That concludes our service. Family will be pleased and grateful to accept condolence calls per the schedule that has been arranged. And also for those who may wish to attend a Shiva service at the Rubenstein home tomorrow evening at 6:30, probably outside where social distancing will be observed. I would like to especially acknowledge Jay Siegel, administrator of Mount Nebo, for his efforts and consistent attention in making this possible today, and particularly to Jim Cohen of Feldman's and your fantastic staff who worked tirelessly to ensure that we could stay communicating with each other and connected throughout the world to this service. Hamakom yenachem etchem betoch shar avelei Zion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among the other mourners for Zion and Jerusalem. We wish you a chaim aruchim, a long life, a life blessed and inspired by the memories created by our wonderful